In 1872, US President Ulysses S. Grant set up the world's first ever national park, Yellowstone National Park. And just a few years later, here in Australia, we set up the world's second national park, the Royal National Park, just on the outskirts of this great city. And fast forward now to today, and we are about to have the world's largest system of marine national parks around Australia. So we've come a long way, haven't we, since the 19th century in the way that we're protecting the world's wild and beautiful places. But although we've come a long way, we're still stuck in many respects with a fairly old school approach to protecting the world's environment. And in this talk, I want to explain why we need actually to change our whole way of thinking, our whole frame of reference, if we are, as a species, going to survive and thrive in the 21st century. Now, I'm an international lawyer, and as an international lawyer, I look at issues like war, peace, diplomatic immunity, treaties, the claiming of territory. But I also look at environmental issues, and environmental issues have been part of international law since the 1920s, when even then there was an awareness that we were facing environmental problems. Fisheries were being fished to extinction. Industrial pollution was drifting across borders, damaging crops, harming farms. And so back then, the world started to agree on a range of treaties to deal with environmental issues, protecting migratory birds, protecting whales, protecting iconic species, seals, the big cats, elephants, and so on. Have we come that much further since that time in terms of protecting the environment? I would say not that much further at all. In the 1970s, a British scientist by the name of James Lovelock came up with the Gaia theory. And the Gaia theory is that the world is a complex, self-regulating system where both the living and non-living elements operate in harmony together to produce an environment that can sustain us all. And the Gaia theory is the basis of Earth systems science, the notion of the world as a single, complex, dynamic system. Earth system science is absolutely critical for understanding to what extent humanity is living within planetary boundaries. It's just remarkable how much humanity has touched the Earth. Human hands have transformed all landscapes and seascapes on Earth. We've changed the composition of the atmosphere. We've changed the chemistry of the oceans. We've replumbed whole water basins, rivers, dams, lakes, and even, in some cases, seas. And Earth system science helps us to understand how we can live within our limits. The Australian Academy of Science has set up a strategy for an Australian Earth systems science community so that we can understand some of these planetary limits. So science has in fact marched on an awful long way. But where is international environmental law? Well, unfortunately, it is being dragged along behind. International environmental law still does not take a systems approach. It still treats the environment as a set of individual problems, not as a system. It doesn't think of the environment as more than the sum of its parts. And I'll just give you one great example. The Kyoto Protocol that we've all heard so much about is designed to stop dangerous climate change, right? It's there to stop the dangerous warming of the atmosphere by stopping emissions of carbon dioxide. An important goal and one we must meet. But there's another CO2 problem that not many people know about, and that's ocean acidification. This is carbon dioxide being drawn into the oceans, which is changing the chemistry of the oceans and affecting marine organisms, especially corals that are being dissolved. Kyoto doesn't deal with ocean acidification at all. In fact, in some provisions, it encourages oceans to be used to draw down carbon to try and keep the planet habitable. just one example of many where an Earth systems science approach is not taken in international environmental law. We have to do something about this. And my proposal is a radical one, but an absolutely indispensable one. We actually need to abandon most of the environmental treaties that we've agreed. Big treaties dealing with migratory species, endangered species. Unfortunately, we have to put to one side. We have to start again, building from the bottom up, a new system of Earth systems governance that takes as its premise the fact that the world is a living organism and not a set of independent, unassociated parts.